Here we all are, the last round before the summer break. Overall, this first half of the season has been an interesting one with its highs and lows, but overall, it has been a decent season. Of course, there are issues with the regulations and especially the batteries, but surely they'll all be fixed as much as possible before the next reg cycle, right? Right? Anyways, the last few rounds have been very, very interesting. Mercedes started off the year well out in the lead. However, in recent rounds have been vulnerable to Ferrari. And even at a weekend like Spa where Ferrari brought no parts while Merc brought many, Ferrari were still able to keep up. And now that Ferrari have brought their upgrades, it is looking pretty spicy. However, in terms of the title, it could be over. I don't know. I'm not saying anything just yet. However, unless some crazy things happen, I'm sure it'll be Kimi Antonelli as our champion. But who knows? If the title situation can be shaken up, the Hungaroring seems like a good place for that to happen. I say this because something about the air in Hungary, it just causes everyone to lose their sanity. We have seen plenty of crazy and just downright stupid moments happen here, and keep in mind, incidents like that were happening under cars that struggle to follow each other. Imagine how everyone will behave in cars that are made to follow each other with batteries that are all powerful. Oh, and what's that? There's a slight chance of rain for Sunday too? Oh yeah, it's gonna be one of those weekends. However, what will likely end up happening is no rain and everyone playing some one-stop slot, but hey, let's have some faith. Anyways, this track is of course a favor of Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis has of course been driving at a real good level lately, and let's say these Ferrari upgrades work as well as they could, I genuinely think Lewis could be untouchable. Or shit, maybe Lando Norris can be in the mix as well since this is another favorite of his. So let's stop setting up jinxes that you know are waiting to happen. Let's instead recap the weekend to see what has happened in it before finding us some winners and losers. Subscribe if you hate the government, and make sure to check out the Crash Week podcast for some F1 talk. Emphasis on some. So with that said, let's get to quacking now.
See those clouds up in the corner? That's where the rain is coming from.
As always, ladies and gents, we got the recap first, and heading into Friday, there wasn't that much to discuss. There, of course, was George Russell being one angry man since he, of course, had yet another issue at Spa. His title chances are basically all gone now, and George is very mad at Toto, as he should be. Mercedes have come out recently, though, and said that they understand the issue with this car now and fix some of the coding nonsense, so he should be all square heading into Hungary. Let's see about that. Another thing not helping George's chances is the fact that he could potentially have less rounds to recover since Abu Dhabi and Qatar could get cancelled as well. This, of course, is thanks to Donald Trump's 3-day war against Iran that is now entering its 4th month of conflict with zero sign of stopping. Just in time for elections. Oh, wait a minute. If those 2 rounds get cancelled, we could potentially end the season in Vegas, which is pretty nice aesthetically, but also see the return of the Sepang circuit in Malaysia sometime soon. We will have to wait and see ultimately, but regardless, it's not looking good for the final 2 rounds. The last story we have entered the weekend is, of course, that sick-ass Aston B-Spec finally arriving here in Hungary. My prediction for where they end up is this. It will be in between Williams and Audi. How riveting. I'm saying they'll be in the P12 to P16 ballpark, and hey, who knows, maybe points can be scored on a crazy weekend. Still a far cry away from the podium contenders though, like so many expected. Anyways, with all the stories out the way, let's discuss Friday and its FP1 and FP2 sessions. FP1 saw some more rookie faces take the grid with Fornaroli in the McLaren, Vesti in the Mercedes, Aaron in the Alpine, Hirakawa in the Haas, and Herta in the Cadillac. They were there alright. As for the rest of the session, we of course finally saw the Aston B-Spec, and what does it show us? Oh, you know, a suspension failure for Stroll and Alonso only in 13th. Now, it is where I expected, but I don't know, I had hope for more. Whatever, it's a me problem. The rest of the session was certainly interesting though. Ferrari for once had an engine issue with both cars, while many were just locking the hell up everywhere. However, the teams that brought upgrades here certainly have things to be proud of, since Ferrari topped the session with Charles and McLaren. Is that a spinny wing I see? FP1 showed us some interesting signs, and FP2 only bolstered them. Ferrari straight up look pretty fast now since they are clear out in front, with really only McLaren being able to touch them. I have no doubt Mercedes can come back, and definitely will, but a P5 and P0 in FP2 is pretty worrying. Also, Lance wasn't able to go back out for FP2 while Alonso finished in 19th. it's still an improvement. Towards the end of the session, Colapinto also crashed out, which certainly ain't helping their understanding of the upgrades. So overall, it was a pretty interesting Friday that's making me real excited about tomorrow with its FP3 and qualifying session. Let's see what Merc have. FP3 showed us the Mbappe special, but as for the interesting teams, McLaren topped the session with Lando, who does look real good, while Hamilton and Kimi round out the top 3. Aston also finished in 17th and 18th, but look, it is better technically. Anyways, the fight for pole position is looking way too close to call, so let's see who gets the last pole of the first half. Q1 begins and ends just as fast as nothing worth a note happened. However, they did it. Aston Martin made it into Q2 quite comfortably with Alonso, while Stroll, let's skip him. Q2 begins, and aside from Hadra's rear wing failing, the session was pretty quiet with the guys you expect to be out getting out, which did include Alonso, but let's still celebrate his effort, leaving the top runners plus Hulk and Lindblad, who can now get pole. The first runs conclude with Ferrari 1 and 3 with Norris snugged in between their cheeks. Really, it's just Lewis and Lando competing for pole, and in the final runs, the Ferraris cannot find the pace for an improvement while Lando does, which means he takes pole position by 1/100th of a second. It is looking like this weekend is Ferrari v Lando, while Mercedes struggle with pace, who by the way saw another car issue with Russell. Fork found in kitchen, I guess. How will the race shape up now? Something is telling me I need to prepare a therapy session in advance. And it seems like I was right since Lewis got a grid penalty. Whatever. Lap 1 begins and Max dupes the Ferraris, while later on in the lap, Oscar dupes Lando and takes the lead of the whole race. Then there was a sick ass battle between all the cars. There was like 50 DNFs. Dude, it was freaking crazy and the best race this season, bro. Yeah, no shit, that didn't happen. I think from like lap 1 to lap 45, there was like maybe 7 overtakes. The only notable thing that happened was like, I don't know, the pit stops. But then on lap 39, Carlos Sainz thankfully thinks of the fans and decides to get a mid-race lobotomy and hit race leader Oscar Piastri, who is lapping him, and make Lando able to overtake him in the pit lane. Masterful work, Agent Sainz. Mossad will handle your payments. Anyways, nothing happens once more aside from the Cadillacs DNFing again, but to make sure they ain't alone, Oscar's car remembered it was a McLaren and took him out of the race. The VSC then comes out, which leads to absolutely nothing, so as the race ends, Lando wins it with Max and Kimi on the podium. What a boring waste of my time. Now for the winners and losers, and let's begin with the losers as always, and I have Cadillac, who needs to respond. All season long, it was Aston and Caddy in the back, giving us fights to remember like always, of course. But now with Aston upgrading, Cadillac are kind of alone now in the back, and it is a little bit sad to see. They need competition again in the nowhere places, and one can only hope they are bringing some meaningful upgrades soon, but it's not looking bright. The team have been radio silent when it comes to their development, and sure, on one hand, it is understandable since they are new to the sport, but that don't mean just idle around waiting for God to work his magic. I hope for Caddy's sake that they don't fall too behind now and end the season where Aston were last week. I have faith considering their drivers are still good, but I am a little bit worried, I can't lie. Next is Williams, who are now my biggest hate watch this year. I mean, we have said it a ton already. How on earth do Williams go from leading the midfield last year to being relegated out of it mid-season this year? I mean, it's not acceptable whatsoever, and I understand that James Ayew has done great things for the team, but all I'm saying is principals have been fired for much less. What doesn't help this logistical failure of Williams is the fact that their drivers, and in particular Sainz this week, are just unable to do anything and get in a bit of trouble on track. It's very sad to see considering their performance the previous year, but these are all points we have heard throughout the season. All we can do now is hope that their B-Spec car slated for Baku or Madrid can bring the team back to glory, because if I have to hear how miserable everyone is at the team one more time, I'll just put them out of it. Next is Haas, who are more disappointing than my chud son. I mean, if Williams are the sad ones, then Haas are the miserable ones. Again, started the year off super good, but every weekend slowly sees them get worse. And here in Hungary, boy oh boy were they even struggling to be classified as midfield. That car just not working anymore, and one better hope that like Aston and Williams has can bring a B-spec car pronto. And I guess it shouldn't come too much of a surprise. That's the beauty of new regulations. Some teams get it right, some get it wrong, some get it just fine. And when many get it wrong, the fine folks look better than they are. So when the wrongers get it right eventually, the fine folks slowly get relegated to the wrong ones. Make sense? Haas, I think, had a similar phenomenon in 2022, so I have no doubt they'll find their footing again, but as it stands currently, this is just not good in the slightest. Finally, I have Ferrari. What the hell happened? I hate this team. I hate everything. I hate everyone. I hate you. They started the weekend as the fastest one, but again, they somehow find a way to lose it and become ass once more. I hate this team. I swear to God. Pole was on a silver platter, but we had to settle for second and third. Then Lewis killed Oscar in qualifying and got a penalty. Then Charles bum ass didn't do a thing in the race, and Lewis couldn't overtake Max and got a 5-second penalty again. Genuinely, I want to burn this team to the ground so my purgatory can end. Now for the mid guys of the week, and let's start with Alpine for the 4th weekend in a row now. I always say that another weekend like this will land Alpine into the losers, but somehow these lot do just enough to not be a loser. But only just. Alpine in recent weekends have of course been getting outdone by Racing Bulls, and for real now guys, one more weekend like this and they'll be losers because more midfield teams are entering their airspace. Specifically, I'm talking about Audi, since Hulk, as we will speak on later, was able to not be close to Alpine but straight up ahead of them, and even just looking back 3 rounds, you would have never guessed that was possible. Alpine have seriously been slacking off, and for the sake of the midfield fight, I hope they find pace again soon, man. I need the chaos in my life. Next is Gabby though, who I was conflicted about just leaving out of the video. I see this because it's hard to gauge whether he was disappointing this week or just performing where the car is. Now I will admit, I am unsure if Hulk is the only one with upgrades or if both cars have them, so if Gabby is upgrade list, then my bad and disregard what I'm about to say. However, if both cars are upgraded, yikers. Gabby for basically the whole season has been dogging on Hulk, pushing him into retirement every single day. However, this weekend, Hulk put his foot down and put belt to ass on Gabby, which led to a nothing weekend for him. Gabby was still fine though, he wasn't so much down the order. In fact, he was able to fight well, but I expected more. I don't know. But finally, I have Mercedes, surprisingly. Mercedes coming into this weekend were always going to have a struggle since this track shouldn't have suited their car, but you thought somehow they would still do it, right? I mean, Kimi did so at Monaco, and while Kimi was very good this weekend, he still had to fight for just a podium. And George, meanwhile, was straight up having a rough one with another issue in qualifying and the car just being slow. This was low-key their Singapore 2023, and one better hope it doesn't get worse than this. Or well, I guess I should hope for Ferrari's sake. Now for the winners though, and let's begin with Aston Martin first. After 14 straight consecutive loser placements from shakedown all the way to now, they did it. They are no longer losers, and for that fact, they are the ultimate winners in this episode. Now, of course, that B-spec car didn't get them any points, nowhere near them. However, the car has proven it can get better. That's all I needed to see. Plus, Alonso was able to put the car in Q2 with a mighty effort and set good lap times across the weekend. Potential is very much there for Aston, and for simply making me smile once more at them since 2025, they get an immediate winner's placement. Now for the actual winners, and let's begin with McLaren. Lando of course took home pole position along with the win in a manner which is controversial, but who cares, man, he had good pace. Lando of course started the season very poor and disappointing, but has slowly made adjustments, and for the last several weeks has been so good. He has demonstrated a great ability to adapt to these new cars, and now that he is understanding them to great effect, his results are as perfect as they could be. And as for Oscar, his weekend was kind of cheeks until the race, but he was alright in it. He didn't have the pace of Lando, but would have won anyways if it weren't for Sainz getting a lobotomy, or even if that didn't happen, the car still exploded anyways. Either way, McLaren finally got their win, and I can't imagine they're too fussed about Oscar losing it to Lando. Next is Kimi Antonelli. Now, despite Mercedes being mid, Kimi certainly wasn't, since he was great all weekend long and maximizing everything he could. That really has been the story of Kimi this year, hasn't it though? Even in a weekend where Mercedes were bumfuck nowhere, Kimi somehow finds himself on the podium still. So yeah, I think we keep it short since he was really quiet and just spawned in P3 really. Next is Racing Bulls, who has been turning up the heat recently. Now, I don't know if Liam is still upgradeless, but regardless, at least Lindblad has still driven well these past couple of weekends. Arvid, of course, has a very upgraded car, and this is allowing him to be close to the pack for the first time since what, round 1? And Lindblad has not slacked off in that time, since he is slotting right in and making you forget he is a rookie. His pace has been electric all weekend long, and while the race was slightly disappointing, it still makes me excited to see what he has in the future. And then you have Liam, who is maybe upgradeless, and if so, then imagine him with the upgrades. Racing Bulls have had a weekend that they have had for a while now, which was just being pretty dang good. Finally, I have Hulk. Again, maybe Hulk is the only one with an upgraded car, and maybe when Gabby gets it, he'll get dominated once more. But for this weekend, Hulk was a beast. He was able to push that car to places he hasn't seen in a while, since of course, he made it into Q3 and was fighting for points in it. It's very nice to see Hulk be competitive once more, especially because the only reason why he wasn't was because the car kept on exploding, of course. So it's very nice to see that not happening for once, and Hulk finally getting some points this season. Finally, let's review my predictions from the weekend. My qualifying predictions were pretty wrong, which was actually a good thing for once. My race predictions were nowhere near right, so it's business as usual. My random prediction was dead wrong once more. Your predictions were crazy wrong, but for this weekend only, I'll allow it, I guess. And finally, my bingo card is without an update. So those were my winners and losers from the Hungary GP. Now we have a whole month of no F1 until Zandvoort and the end of August. Don't go anywhere though, since we have some wacky ideas to do over here, so make sure to not miss out. Anyways, I want to give a quick shout out to all my Brazil flock for their continued support, and make sure to join if you all cool benefits as well as just helping me out. Anyways, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe since it really helps me out. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think of this, and as always, have an amazing day.
Good weather for the duck.